So we mentioned a lot of players there. And Quaker, when you think of Sofyan Amrabat, we're told that Manchester United have held early talks with Fiorentina about him, and the player is apparently quite keen on the move. So why Amrabat for Erik ten Hag?
Obviously, he's a player that came to the fore for the general public during the World Cup. He started for Morocco in the midfield, and he was very functional in the midfield as well as being a high-volume passer. He showed multitude of skills that would be very valuable to a team like Manchester United. And if you look at him for Fiorentina last season, they're a team that enjoyed the second highest possession rate in Serie A. And that lends itself to his skill set. But if you hear what Erik ten Hag said when Man United on tour, he wants them to be a dynamic team and the best transitional team in the world. So it's almost at odds with what Amrabat does. And if you look at him there compared to the other Manchester United midfielders, you see how he offers something a bit different. If you look at pass accuracy, it's 89.8%, which is what Man United need, especially with the income of a player like Mason Mount, who's not a player who's going to get on the ball, and similar to Casemiro and the other players that they've got there, Bruno as well. But if you look at what Amrabat does, he just brings something different to that Manchester United midfield. And it might be a case of bringing in bodies as well, because we talked there to Owen, and they're losing Fred potentially, they're losing McTominay potentially. So it's a Man United team that do need bodies as well as quality to really enhance that squad and to make them challenge for the major honours next season.
That's a player that can play with Casemiro, but also if Casemiro's out, he can do the job that Casemiro does to a high level still. I think that's why that would be a really clever bit of business for Manchester United.
And Owen mentioned there about the possibility of Dean Henderson going out permanently to Nottingham Forest. Is that one that's surprised you, that he's never become number one?
Not really, because when you've got David De Gea, who's been there on £375,000 a week, who you've been struggling to shift over the years, you can't then keep another high-level goalkeeper with him. I think for Henderson, the first half of the season with Forest, he had a really successful run. He was a big part of that team, really bought into what Forest were trying to do and was a big voice in that dressing room. So even when he was injured in the second half of the season, he was still in and around the dressing room on match days, providing that vocal presence and geeing his teammates up. So he showed that he was a real team player when he was at Forest. He's had issues with Manchester United, kind of a little bit of trust has been lost between him and the club. I think he was promised certain things about playing that never materialised. I think he expected to be more involved the one season, and then De Gea got the number one shirt again, and Henderson didn't play. So I think he felt a little bit let down by Manchester United. But we're seeing more and more now, and we mention it every show, teams are needing to sell players. There's the kind of players that they're happy to keep, but if an offer comes in, that they'll take them. Like Owen just said, I think Henderson's one of those players where they can get a good fee for a homegrown player in FFP terms. That's really beneficial to the selling team.
Yeah, it would be a loan deal initially to Nottingham Forest, but with an obligation to buy, which means that Manchester United could still bank on that money. It would just come a year later. Right.